New developments in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Starting this morning, the Justice Department will start allowing members of Congress to view unredacted copies of its millions of files. Meanwhile, a group of Epstein survivors are hoping a high-profile PSA in last night's Super Bowl will lead to even more transparency.
Hey guys, Adam here. All right, listen up. We need to talk about what just happened. On a night dedicated to spectacle, where a single 30-second ad spot costs a king's ransom, a different kind of message pierced through the noise.
Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Craig, good morning. And members of Congress are expected to begin reviewing the files first thing today. They have many questions about what the Justice Department chose to redact and why. The members will be able to review the material on their own with no staff. They can take notes, but will not be allowed to use any electronic devices. Survivors are pleading with Congress to keep the issue alive. Many of them part of a high-profile ad that aired during last night's Super Bowl that pointed out all the redactions and the fact that more than 3 million files have yet to be released by the DOJ. Meanwhile, also this morning, Epstein's former girlfriend and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell has a deposition in front of the House Oversight Committee. She will appear virtually from a Texas prison where she's being held. Maxwell's lawyers have said that she plans to plead the Fifth and will not answer any questions. Craig?
Ryan Nobles from Washington. Ryan, thank you.
It didn't feature a celebrity or a talking animal. It carried the voices of those who have been silenced for far too long. This Super Bowl Sunday, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's horrors did the unthinkable. They bought the ultimate megaphone and aimed it directly at the White House.
After years of being kept apart, we're standing together.
Standing together.
Because this girl deserves the truth.
Because she deserves the truth.
Because we all deserve the truth.
This isn't just an ad, it's an indictment, a public shaming. A direct challenge to an administration that promised sunlight but is now building walls of secrecy. And it changes everything. While millions were tuning in for touchdowns, the survivors delivered a message more powerful than any halftime show. They are done waiting. They are done with empty promises. And they are making it crystal clear. They see the cover-up happening in real time, and they will not be silent. The stone wall, an administration's betrayal of a promise.
Ready to do that if the victims want me to. They believe that the best way to get justice is to force the DOJ to release these names. I've already read one name in a committee with the FBI director there. That's Jess Staley. And again, he may or may not be guilty, but he's been accused by these victims, the lawyer tells me. And there are other names. I don't have them in my possession, but if the victims want to give them to me, I've expressed that I'm willing to do that. But again, the best way is to force the DOJ to release those names on those 302 forms.
To understand the sheer force of this move, you have to understand the profound betrayal that prompted it. This Trump administration did not come to power whispering about tax cuts or infrastructure. A core, screaming pillar of its appeal was a vow to burn down the corrupt elite. They named names. They pointed fingers at a swamp of powerful pedophiles and promised with fiery certainty to drain it. They swore that the era of crimes with impunity was over. Key figures like Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, and JD Vance stood as avengers in waiting. Donald Trump himself positioned his return as the final reckoning for the untouchables. The Epstein files weren't just documents, they were the promised blueprint for the purge. But a grim reality has set in. The Avengers have become the gatekeepers. Attorney General Todd Blanche has made it unequivocally clear there will be no further mass releases of Epstein documents.
Thank you. You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abuse the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women.
The drip feed of truth has been shut off at the source. When pressed on CNN, conservative commentator Katie Zechariah could only confirm the cold fact. Todd Blanche already announced that he wouldn't be releasing anymore. That's not me saying it. It's Todd Blanche. Pam Bondi, once a vocal proponent of exposing the truth, now stands shoulder to shoulder with this decision.
President Trump has been the most transparent president on the Epstein files in all presidential. How many Epstein files did Joe Biden release? How many?
There was an ongoing investigation.
How many Epstein files did Joe Biden release?
There was an ongoing prosecution in 2022.
How many did Obama release?
Wait. I mean, acknowledge what I just said. There was an ongoing investigation up to 2022 that was appealed, and that appeal ended in 2025 because there was an ongoing prosecution.
So let her finish her point.
So President Trump has been transparent about this. He has also been under the inquisition of the press, and everyone else that asked him a question, he has answered and answered and answered. Oval Office, press room, Air Force One, you name it, he's answering questions. How many times has Bill Clinton been asked by the conservative press or even the liberal media hard questions about the Epstein files? Zero.
You say that he's been the most transparent president in history. You've heard his answers. He's come out and said, are you still talking about the Epstein files? When a reporter on Air Force One asked him about the Epstein files, he called her piggy. When Caitlin Collins just a few days ago tried to ask him about the Epstein files, he attacked her and said that she should smile more. This is the transparency that you expect from the president?
The files released are the transparency.
We have 6 million files and 3 million are released. What about the other 3 million? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with 3 million files not being released?
Let's let the process tease out.
We've already learned from Todd Blanche that the process won't be teased out.
The message from the highest levels of the Department of Justice is a deafening silence. No more names, no more files, no more accountability. The promise of transparency has curdled into a policy of containment. The obvious question: who are they protecting? The survivors and anyone with eyes to see are asking the obvious burning question: why? The answer isn't hidden in a conspiracy. It's hiding in plain sight, within the very halls of power this administration now controls. The existing files are a minefield of connections that lead straight to Trump's doorstep. This isn't speculation, it's data. According to a New York Times analysis using a proprietary search tool, the latest DOJ release contained a staggering 5,300 files with over 38,000 references to Donald Trump, his family, his Mar-a-Lago club, and his associates. Previous installments held another 130 Trump-related files. The web doesn't end with the president. It ensnares his cabinet. Commerce Secretary Harold Lutnick is identified as an Epstein associate. Trump's pick for Federal Reserve Chair, Kevin Warsh, is named in the files. Even allies like Elon Musk are documented planning visits to Epstein's island. This is the uncomfortable, inescapable math. An administration that vowed to expose the elite is now staffed by people whose names are woven into the very fabric of the scandal they promised to unravel. Releasing the full, unredacted truth isn't just an act of justice. It's an act of self-immolation. They are not protecting abstract elites. They are protecting their own.
Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that he and his wife decided around 2005 to cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein. But the latest release shows that there was some correspondence after that, even after Epstein pleaded guilty to sex crimes in 2008. What questions do you have about Lutnick's ties to Epstein, and should he come before Congress and testify?
No, he should just resign. I mean, there are 3 people in Great Britain that have resigned in politics. The ambassador from Great Britain to the United States, the prince lost his title for less than what we've seen Howard Lutnick lie about. Look, Howard Lutnick clearly went to the island, if we believe what's in these files. He was in business with Jeffrey Epstein. And this was many years after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted, lightly sentenced, but was convicted for sexual crimes. So he's got a lot to answer for, but really he should make life easier on the president, frankly, and just resign. If this were Great Britain, he'd already be gone.
And just for the record, the Commerce Department says that he had limited interactions with Mr. Epstein in the presence of his wife, has never been accused of wrongdoing.
The rebellion from within, Massie's nuclear option. This is where the story fractures. The administration's stonewall is not being met with universal applause, even from its own side. A rebellion is brewing, led by a figure who has made a career of ideological stubbornness, Congressman Thomas Massie. Alongside Senator Rand Paul, Massie is the author of the Epstein File Transparency Act, and he is not content to watch the DOJ bury the truth. He is preparing a legislative and procedural war. In a recent interview, Massie took direct aim at Commerce Secretary Lutnick, but that was just the warning shot. He then laid out a nuclear option that should send chills through the DOJ. Paraphrasing his threat, if the Department of Justice continues to suppress the names of Epstein's accomplices listed on FBI 302 interview forms, I will read them into the Congressional Record myself. I've already read one name in a committee with the FBI director there, Massie stated. That's Jess Staley, and again, he may or may not be guilty.
They are legitimately, proactively protecting pedophiles.
They are protecting pedophiles at this point.
By redacting the abusers' names. The White House, listen up everybody, the fucking White House is protecting pedophiles. You hear that? They're fucking protecting pedophiles. That's what the fuck they're doing.
But he's been accused by these victims. I don't have all the names in my possession, but if the victims want to give them to me, I've expressed that I'm willing to do that. But again, the best way is to force the DOJ to release those names. Think about the implications of that.
I think it will get worse. I don't know. That's not information I have on any good authority. I just believe things like this tend to get worse. And there's a reason they didn't want these documents out. This is not, we're all clumsy. The whole thing with Pam Bondi. She's a kook and she's clumsy and she's bungled it. No, I think she was doing what she was supposed to do, which is, keep it from the public. She's bungled it. She's so disorganized. No, I don't think that's what it is. There was that whole incompetence theory. She's got a bunch of papers on her desk and she doesn't know which ones are which. And, the idea that it was like a Three Stooges sketch and she couldn't figure out what file had the Epstein files in it. Wait a minute. No, I think it was chaos by design.
A sitting Republican congressman threatening to bypass the entire executive branch and use his congressional privilege to blast the names of alleged co-conspirators into the public domain. This is a threat of mutually assured destruction. It signals that the pressure for truth has grown so intense that it is now cracking the very political coalition that elected Trump.
Or the Epstein files is a hoax.
Bro, the fucking Epstein thing is just...
nothing but a hoax!
It's just, I don't even understand. I don't get it. It is the easiest political victory. Like, if you just
it is,
do
but
it,
it isn't. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm not supporting anything. Just be really clear, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But if you have relationships with all these insanely wealthy people that are going to be severely impacted by this, like this is the ultimate political football. Because I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know who the people are, but I've heard things. And if those things are true, you're dealing with some of the most powerful people in the world, some of the wealthiest people in the world.
The Super Bowl ad, a symbolic thermobaric bomb. This brings us back to the Survivor's Super Bowl ad. This was not a plea. It was a declaration. It was them seizing the single largest cultural platform in America to say, "We see you. The world sees you. Your own voters see you." The ad's genius is in its symbolism and its timing. By appearing on Super Bowl Sunday, they ensured their message would land in the living rooms of tens of millions of Americans, cutting across every political and demographic line. It transformed their struggle from a political story into a human story, broadcast on a night of national unity. The message was multifaceted and devastating. We are still here. It reminded a nation prone to scandal fatigue that the survivors are not abstracts. They are living, breathing people demanding justice, not closure. You are breaking your promise. It directly contrasted the administration's fiery campaign rhetoric with its current obstructive reality. It framed them not as reluctant officials, but as oath-breakers. The world is watching. It elevated their fight beyond the D.C. bubble. It told the politicians that this issue cannot be contained in committee rooms or suppressed by legalistic jargon. It is now in the realm of national conscience. The unraveling, a coalition at war with itself. The ad and Massie's threats expose the fatal flaw in the administration's strategy. They groomed a voter base on a diet of righteous anger against a corrupt ruling class. They sold themselves as the wrecking ball. Now, that base is looking at the wrecking ball parked in the garage while the foreman shakes hands with the developers. As one disillusioned Trump voter put it, the sole purpose of this administration being elected was to eliminate this elite ruling class that can commit crimes with impunity, not protect it. This is the administration's nightmare scenario. The pressure isn't just coming from political opponents or the media, it's now coming from the core of their own movement. The true believers feel betrayed. The populist anger they channeled is now threatening to redirect itself back at them. The road ahead, a glide path to nowhere. The Department of Justice, under Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi, clearly hoped for a glide path. Release a controlled batch of files, declare the matter reviewed, and let the slow creep of time bury the rest. They calculated that public attention would wane and institutional inertia would protect the remaining secrets. That calculation has failed. The survivors have shattered the silence with a Super Bowl spotlight. Thomas Massie is threatening to ignite a procedural bomb on the House floor. The New York Times and other outlets are diligently connecting the dots, publishing the damning tallies of references. The story is no longer about what was. It's about what is being hidden now. The survivor's ad isn't the end of a plea. It's the opening salvo in a new, more public phase of this battle. They have signaled that they will use every tool, seize every platform, and ally with any person, Republican or Democrat, who will help them force the truth into the light. The administration is now trapped. Continue the Stonewall and face escalating rebellion from figures like Massie and a betrayed base. Release the files and risk a political and legal cataclysm as the full network is exposed. There is no clean exit. On a night of calculated commercials, the most authentic and powerful message came from those with the most to lose. They didn't advertise a product. They issued a subpoena to the American conscience, and they made it clear. The fight for the Epstein files is not a political story. It is a test of this nation's commitment to justice, and they are not going away until that test is passed. The clock didn't run out at the Super Bowl. For those hiding the truth, it just started ticking louder.